teach kindergarten, and every year before the end of the year, we always give our secretary copies that we would like for her to do over the summer that we know we're going to be using either like some kind of bulk print, right? All right, so I'm going to show the different things that I have her copy over the summer. So the first thing is I go ahead and get all my stuff for like the different letters that we teach. We do fast track, and then we do the regular pace, which is where we do about one letter every 2 days. In the beginning, our fast track with Letterland is 2 letters a day, and then it switches to 1 letter every 2 days. All right, so we have different activities. This is where we practice centers. So we're practicing cutting, gluing, using our pencil box, using our tools in the pencil box, completing activities. So they're very simple, okay? So first we have color the picture. Color the pictures that begin with the letter sound, and so they're looking for letter sounds. This goes along with our whole group lesson in the beginning of that day. And so I have her copy this. There's one for each letter. I also do little booklets. So we copy these, and on each page it'll just say, you know, A is for astronaut, A is for alligator, and we use these in small groups to practice with finger pointing. So first they color this and practice reading it, looking at the pictures in a center, and then they carry this to my table and we practice opening it, turning the pages, front of the book, back of the book, and pointing and following with our finger. First they color this and practice reading it, looking at the pictures in a center, and then they carry this to my table and we practice opening it, turning the pages, front of the book, back of the book, and pointing and following with our finger. Another activity that's really easy at the beginning of the year when you're having them learn how to follow directions and do some simple tasks independently. So they are finding and coloring. They can either color or dab the things that begin with letter A sound. And so they're doing this in a center. Then they're coming down here and they're tracing and they're attempting to write it by themselves. This one is Education to the Core, and she's got it in all of the letters. She also has it additionally in like the digraphs and other vowel teams and whatnot, but I only did the letters for this group. And for some multisensory, we're going to have a painting center where we do watercolor painting. And in the beginning, I teach them my expectations for this, but what they'll end up doing is they will get a small cup of water, they will fill to a certain line, they'll get the watercolor paint, and then they'll get to paint this, and they leave it out on a special place in our room to dry. It sounds kind of scary at first, but they really do get the hang of it, and it becomes pretty easy. Something different I'm doing is I'm starting morning work maybe the second week of school. So this is also Education to the Core. This will just have them practice tracing their lines with a pencil. They are matching things that are the same. So book bag to book bag, crowns to crowns, glue to glue. And it goes day by day. And so eventually it gets harder as they go. So like, let's say a month in, they're tracing, draw something that goes with the object. So it's not really letter things yet, and then it goes to colors. I know that eventually it gets to letters and CVC words, tracing all of that stuff that we want them to get to. I also had these printed, which is they're searching for the letters. There's different fonts, and then there's some more tracing handwriting practice at the bottom. These are my favorite. They make a hat. Now I do save these after fast track when it's 1 letter every 2 days. We save this part for fast track because they have more time to cut and glue, and in the beginning making these hats takes forever. Really takes forever. Then I sort it all in these 2 crates. So as you can see, I've got books, hats, trace, write, and color, and it starts with the first letter that we're going to start with in our fast track, which is C and A. And so what I'll do is I'll come and I'll pull a couple pages out of here, and then I do save some of the copies that we've done for whenever we are done with fast track and we're doing the regular pace of Letterland. And so what I'll do is I'll come and I'll pull a couple pages out of here, and then I do save some of the copies that we've done for whenever we are done with fast track and we're doing the regular pace of Letterland. Right, so my secretary is still working on my books like this right now, but we do these little books too, which have some coloring, tracing, beginning sounds. There is beginning sounds for that. There's the I Spy beginning sounds. We have a trace, write, and color that we do. It's just very repetitive at this point because all they can really do at this time in the year is trace and color things, or at least most of them. And then I've got a different kind of hat. There's a hat. And then I did have her do the Q-tip painting, which is another multi-sensory activity where they're tracing the outline of the letter with Q-tip paint. And then I did have her do the Q-tip painting, which is another multi-sensory activity where they're tracing the outline of the letter with Q-tip paint. I do use all these copies and they do really last me almost the entire year. I think our very last letter is done around March or April, depending on how quickly we get through it. And then we start going into beginning blends and diagraphs and all that stuff.